Okay, so now comes the special part of the celebration, the Luminaria ceremony.
The paper bag represents our thick skin, what we need when we hear a cancer diagnosis.
The weights in the Luminaria offer us a firm foundation when we feel weak and falter.
The candle is as solid as a rock. It's what our caregiver, family, friends, doctors, and nurses are to us.
The flame is the light of hope that a cure will be found before more Luminaria are lit. It is the burning desire in each of us to extinguish cancer now.
As the light of the candle burns bright in the darkness, we are mindful of the people who have been touched by cancer.
We remember those who knew and loved who have lost their battle with cancer.
We honor and are thankful for those who are here with us tonight that have suffered from this disease but are now survivors.
We will pause to remember all of the people who have been touched by cancer.
By being here tonight, we are all doing our part so that the flame will continue to burn and a cure will be found.
Let us all keep the flame alive and help make it burn bright until the day comes when we have conquered cancer.
For our first speaker, I would like to introduce my best friend, Hannah Garrett.
My name is Hannah Garrett, and this is my third year of Really for Life. For the past 2 years, I have really for the same people, my grandpa and my brother. In 2009, I received a phone call from my grandma saying that my grandpa has stage 4 lung cancer. As an 11-year-old, I wasn't too familiar with what cancer is and how it can affect all of us. On November 12th, I wrote my first letter to him, telling him I was thinking about him, keeping him in my prayers, and to make him feel better, I wrote that I had a nasty cold. Unfortunately, he was unable to receive that letter because he had passed away that morning. After he passed, I continued to write letters to him every day until I filled out my first journal. I wrote about my day, my thoughts, feelings, and goals. Writing those letters was my way of connecting with him. It made me feel like he was still part of my life, as if he never left. My brother Christian and I had a connection with our grandpa that was unbreakable. I remember as a kid, we would always play baseball in the backyard, and whenever my brother and I came to visit, we would always go to this little pizza restaurant down the street. A week and a half after we lost our grandpa, Christian was diagnosed with a brain tumor. With the experience from my grandpa, I immediately thought that I was going to lose him. Christian is more than just my brother. He has been my role model, a protector, and every once in a while an enemy. But he has always been my best friend and has never left my side. I was so worried that I was never going to see him again because cancer isn't always forgiving. I'm so proud to say that my brother had a benign tumor and had a full recovery, and now he is about to graduate high school in a few weeks. But this year, I have a new person to relay for, my uncle. A few months ago, I was informed that my uncle had a rare form of non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. As of Thursday, May 22nd, my uncle had his last treatment of chemotherapy and is on his way to recovering. My family and I are so blessed to have our loved ones still be a part of our lives. Cancer isn't always courteous to everyone, but when it is, it's something to forever be thankful for.
Hi, my name is Carolina, and I'm a 2.5-year cancer survivor. I started relaying in Kent and Issaquah about 5 years ago, and I was diagnosed with colon cancer in October of 2011 after months of stomach pains and finally listening to my body telling me that something just wasn't right. I'm here to tell you to listen to your body. I had 6 months of chemo at Swedish Cancer Institute in Issaquah, and I know they have a team out here tonight, and I just really want to personally thank them for being here. Love your doctors and your nurses. They're amazing, and they really do care about you. I always considered myself to be a strong, independent person, but I'm here to tell you that cancer was rough. I was so grateful to have an amazing group of family and friends that literally took over my care and treatment and worried about me so that I didn't have to. I always had a ride to chemo, someone there to hold my hand, make me laugh, dry a tear, and occasionally flirt with my doctor. My front door was always decorated with love and trinkets when I got home. Dinner was always waiting, and sometimes, if I was especially pathetic, my house even got cleaned. Love your friends. And friends, be there and love. My most memorable relay for life was on June 2nd, 2012. My dear friend Stacy invited me to come out. Whoever came up with survivor parking, nice job. I remember walking onto the field and Stacy handing me this survivor medal. You have to understand, at that point, I'd been in chemo for 5 months, I was exhausted, missing half my hair, and I wasn't really feeling like a survivor. It was actually a very low point in my life. When I started to walk the track, I noticed the Luminaria that I'd seen in the past, only this year, there were new ones on the track, and one of them had my name on it. It was in that moment that I realized I had become part of a very special club, a club that no one wants a membership to, but once you become a member, you realize you are in the company of some of the strongest, bravest, most fearless people you will ever meet. Fight, my friends, fight. Last year, Stacy strongly invited me to join her relay team, and if you know Stacy, you know she can be pretty convincing. I think the conversation went something like, now that you've had cancer, you have to be on my team, and she spouted off some impressive statistics. So how could I say no? And the truth is, I'm grateful that she gave me that nudge, or shove, however you want to look at it, and I'm honored to continue to fight to reduce our membership in our club that lines the track tonight. Tonight I relay for those who can't relay anymore. We will always remember and honor you. 2 of the luminarias on our track tonight are in memory of my Oma and my Uncle Bob, who both died from the same type of cancer whose ass I kicked. That tells me we're winning, and I don't know about you, but I like winning. Tonight I relay for Heather, my dear friend Colleen's daughter, who I found out this week has breast cancer. And last but most importantly, tonight I relay for the love of my life, my son Jeremy. Sorry. I pray that with research and the help of the American Cancer Society, he never has to join this club, and I pray that I never see his name on a luminaria on this track. Thank you.
I'm Vikram, and I'm going to be reading a poem to you. This is Every Candle Has a Name by John Story. We're like sailors in the night, being guided by a light. Just a beacon on the shore, giving hope and strength and more. Walking through this sea of lights, I sense unity and might. The power of passion in this place. Every memory has a face. These are loved ones we have known, some still here, but some are gone. In this time, in our own way, as the footsteps melt away, we see love in every flame, like a never-ending chain, and we know that every candle has a name. There's a name of ones who still are here, there's a name of those gone we still hold dear. And there's a name, each one shining in the flames, and I know that every candle has a name.
Hello everyone, my name is Bailey Callahan. I'm 17 years old, a senior in high school. I come from a family that includes 2 loving parents, an older brother, and 2 younger sisters. But I'm not here to tell you about me. I am here to tell you about why I relay, and the impact cancer has had on my life. My journey with cancer began on a Wednesday morning in November 2008. I was 12 years old and in 7th grade. I had noticed that my mom and my youngest sister did not come home the night before. They'd gone to the hospital the previous night to get blood test results from my youngest sister that she had taken earlier that day. My other siblings and I came downstairs to get ready for school that morning, and my dad told us what happened. "Your sister's in the hospital," he said. "She's been diagnosed with cancer." And at that moment, my heart broke. It was the first time I've ever seen my dad cry. I went to school that day in tears and in fear of what was going to happen to my baby sister. I was completely terrified. She was only 7 years old. I remember how I felt for the entire day. Scared, nervous, upset, worried. I had learned a bit about cancer in health classes over the years, but never anything good. I heard about how many lives it's taken in certain years, and how it can be hereditary, and how hurtful it can be not only for the person with cancer, but to the family and the friends of the people diagnosed. I remember how slowly that day went by. I remember being scared of people noticing that I was crying, but most of all, I remember being confused. Confused about how this could happen to my family, about what it was going to be like as she was battling this disease. I remember thinking about how Maddie, my younger sister, must have been feeling. The next year was crazy. As Maddie went through many rounds of chemo, the doctors began a search for a bone marrow donor for the transplant she needed. And they began with my siblings and I. The match ended up being my brother, who courageously went through the procedure. And then as the year continued and we waited for the results, it was a crazy roller coaster. The hospital became my home away from home, and you would never know how my sister would be feeling that day. There were days when all she wanted to do was hold my hand and sit on my lap. And there were days where she felt so sick from chemotherapy that she slept through my whole visit. Those days were the hardest, and all I wished was that she was not put in this position. She was my baby sister, and it killed me to see her in pain. Even as a 7-year-old, she inspired so many people with her joyous spirit and positive outlook on life. I cannot remember her without a smile from ear to ear on her face and a sparkle in her big blue eyes. She wanted to be a princess and spent every day being one, and being the brave little girl that she was. She believed in fairies and magic and had a way to light up a room. She was the most courageous person I will ever know, and was such an amazing little girl. Toward the end of the summer of 2009, we learned that the first bone marrow transplant didn't work, and that she would need another, and the donor search began again. This time being from a complete stranger. But that didn't work either. My sister was a fighter. She was so incredibly strong. But after a year of fighting, Maddie lost her battle to cancer on November 30th, 2009. She was 8 years old and way too young. I will never forget that day. It was the worst day of my life. My aunt was watching my siblings and I while my parents were at the hospital with Maddie. She had been on a ventilator for over a week. And it was my aunt who told me the doctors were taking her off the machines. She was the one who told me that that day was going to be my sister's last day. With the news, my legs gave out beneath me, and I refused to move as I cried for my sister. I never thought this could happen to my family, let alone my baby sister. That night was so hard. We all went to the hospital to say our goodbyes. I remember there were so many people walking through the room saying goodbye, telling her how much they loved her, how much they're going to miss her, and how amazing she is. She inspired so many. I remember saying goodbye to my baby sister. No one should have to do that. It was the hardest thing I will ever have to say. This little 8-year-old girl was my best friend, my inspiration, and someone I loved with all my heart. I miss her every day, and there is not a moment that goes by in which she is not passing through my mind. I know that Maddie is with me every day, and that she pushes me to fight for her. She is the reason I started to relay. She is the inspiration behind the 4 teams at Eastlake High School, 2 teams at UW, and 2 teams at Western that fight back against cancer. She is the fuel behind these teams raising over $53,000 over the past 3 years. And she is the reason I am here in front of you. My sister lost her battle over 4 years ago. And tonight, we are all continuing the fight that she inspired me to join. The fight against cancer.
Let us admire the candles that represent our love and respect for those who have battled cancer, and our hope that someday there will be a cure for this disease.
Please remember those who have lost their battle, those who have beaten this enemy, and those who are currently enduring treatment for cancer. Please join us in a silent lap around the track to reflect. Thank you.